Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Abby Hagyard, and I've got the blinds closed because it's bright sun. I have windows open over there, and it sounds almost like I can hear a lawnmower, which is great because, of course, that means the grass is growing. The thing is that it was hailing 2 days ago, so I want to begin today. First of all, I have to click this little thingy. I just got reminded. There we go. So I want to begin today by saying that we have something pretty awesome happening here. It's quite remarkable to live in the capital city of a country because you get to see history taking place, and rather than waiting to watch it on the news or see it on a feed of some kind. And so today, the King of England is here. He and the Queen arrived yesterday, and today he's 500 yards from me, or on his way there soon, to deliver the throne speech, which is our way of announcing when we have had an election and we have a new leader in our country. The throne speech is presented usually by a representative of the king to our parliament. This year, remarkable and exciting and magical and historic, the king himself has chosen to come, say hello, look at the tulips, see the canal, and tell Canada, these are our plans. So that's very exciting. That's a big thing. And whether as Canadians we admire or would prefer more autonomy, it's still historic, and it's very exciting that it's right there. It's happening right there. Very cool. And while that's going on, I'm here talking to you because you are also so important to me. And so just to make sure that the new people who've joined us, and we're getting new people all the time, and I don't really know if it's from the addition of LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitch to our YouTube and Facebook people, but everybody is welcome, and it's just so exciting to get people reaching out saying, hey, I caught your video, and that's kind of like, I like what you're doing here, keep it up. So I will. Today is episode 361, and I had 3 conversations yesterday with people that I have worked with on creative projects for a number of years, and they're wonderful, they're talented, they're committed, they're inventive and innovative, and they all have a very mischievous sense of humor. And while all of the other qualities are very important, the element of mischief is, I think, the cherry on the icing on the cake. It is what elevates us to a completely different place. And so in those conversations yesterday, I realized that I had the theme for the video today. And that is to talk about the people and the places and the things that make us grin. And I don't mean smile, and I don't mean laugh. I mean grin. The one where there's a little twinkle here and your mouth goes up at one side or the other, and you shake your head because you love them for all their flaws, and you celebrate them because they've chosen us. They've chosen you to connect to. And that changes the day. It changes it in every possible way, and it changes it like that. And so that was why I said to myself, on this whole concept of a reset and resilience, it's easy to forget that the true value, the true power, the fuel, our turbo that allows us to do that with style and flair and not fall over is this element of whimsy, this element of mischief. It is truly what sets us apart. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what it actually means in at least in my lexicon, in my dictionary. And then you will find a companion definition for you. All right, cheers. So I was having a very deep and meaningful conversation with my creative producer the other day. It was really serious. It wasn't serious. I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing about that. It was really serious. It was really intense. We were having this very intense thing. And then he said something, just a common expression. And I responded with something stupid, but lighthearted. And I just said it casually. I didn't go yucca yucca. And he just closed his eyes and he shook his head and he said, "Where?" And I said, "What? I'm here. I'm with you. I'm completely in it." And he said, "I know, but that when you do that," I said, that's to check to see if you're swift, if you can dance on both feet. Good morning, Daniel." And so he rolled his eyes, but he was grinning. And then the next couple of things he said, he had to say them around that grin, because a grin doesn't disappear. It takes a while. It kind of, it gradually fades and we get back to, the focus. And the reason I do it, I realized this morning, because I come up with an idea for a video, I write it down, I stare at it, and I'm waiting for the little voice in my head to say, "What does that mean?" Or, "Ooh, I like that." So when I was staring at it, I thought, there's a conversation that we are talking about these days. My what is it? Pulling G's. What is that called? Pulling G's. That's gravity, right? So I have triple G force in my team, and we were talking about this concept of flow, of getting in the zone, being in the zone. We were talking about the things that get in the way of that. And we were talking about the way that people who routinely have to go there, get there, be there, because it's what they do, it's who they are. And I said, I firmly believe that one of the mechanisms that helps us shift out of the everyday and into flow is something that elevates us, that clears our head, that makes us laugh, and a good laugh pulls dopamine, which clears the thinking process. We are no longer rigid, and it gives us a fresh page. It just sets the stage for the next thing we want to talk about, the next thing we want to focus on, and it puts everything else that is a distraction off to one side. So I have told a story many times about my inability to get myself out of embarrassing situations easily. Once I'm in it so fully, you can't even begin to pretend that you didn't know you were there. Happens to me all the time. And so I come up with a couple of expressions every now and again that give people a chance to just do that. And one of the things, when I'm hopelessly enmeshed in something awkward and silly, I say, they love it in New York, but I say it in a kind of a desperation tone, because we all know I'm out of my depth. And so a lot of the time I'm forgiven. I'm forgiven because I'm usually talking to somebody who thinks of me fondly. And so they're patting me on the head. What I want us to do in the coming days, as we are getting close to summer, and I had this whole fitness regimen prepared for January, and then I got busy. I was doing stuff, and then I reinvented it. Got it resorted in February, and then March came and went. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the fitness routine got started a couple of weeks ago, and the hope that I can look effortlessly lovely in that bathing suit I have by the time pool's open, which is in 15 minutes, because today it's 27 degrees, is a slim and fading dream. However, it doesn't mean that I can't eventually be ready for swimwear. It doesn't mean that it's impossible this year. It just means that I have to step it up. So when somebody said we're having a pool party, and I said, "Oh, good. I'll pass out hors d'oeuvres, shall I?" "No, you get in the pool." "No, I'm not getting in the pool. It means I have to take all the covers off, and you get to see how little exercise I've done this year." You don't have to be self-conscious. I'm not self-conscious. I don't care what your opinion is. I have to look at me. That's the only that's the only thing that matters. So in this way of making people grin, when I was talking to one of my golly gees yesterday, we were talking about the fan events and the one that we're doing this year and the very cool, surprise, amazing, awesome thing we're going to do. Killer idea. Um, is he was saying, yeah, because he's my photographer, one of my photographers. He said it's so easy to work this show. It's so easy to get good expressions on people's faces because the minute they walk into the booth, they don't realize until they're in that everything is different, that something has vastly changed, that you have shifted the reality on them. They walked in thinking one thing and suddenly find themselves in a totally other place. And I we were looking at a clip that somebody had taken for us. And he said, look at that. Look how effortless that is. It looks like you've known that person for a year. And he said, and I was right there. Yeah, you met her like 30 seconds before that reel began. You just, what is it you're doing? And I said, um, I'm making a friend. I'm making a friend, but I'm making a friend in a way that isn't, hi, my name is Abby and who are you? I'm taking the language out of it. I'm taking the conversation out of it. And I have a feeling he's messaging me right now. Yay. And I'm just being in friend mode. We're just in it. And he said, so we are in flow the whole time. And I said, I think so. I think that was the intention. I just didn't have a name for it. So in talking about the people and the places and the memories, the events that make us grin, that the benchmark is if you share the story with me, if you share the story with someone, does the mere telling of it bring the grin back? And if that's true, then this is the cheapest, easiest, simplest therapy anyone ever invented. If we are able to tap into that wellspring of fun, of joy, of connection, because this is what is missing. And when we were having our chat yesterday, and we were talking about the challenge that faces photographers every year, because it's like many animals hibernate, and a lot of photographers do, especially if they're taking pictures of people in the outdoors, because a lot of the time the weather isn't copacetic. And what he was saying was getting back in your game, getting back in the ease of it, the natural falling off the bicycle ease of it is difficult. You have to find an alternative way to train, to maintain. And I said that's our theme. The concept of 1 degree. We've got this amazing training and learning and conversating program that we're developing on different levels for different groups of people. And it's called 1 degree. And it's like that old joke about, everybody's only 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon. Remember that? I don't know how many years ago that is. The idea that we are this close to connection with something meaningful, something big. We're always only that far away from it. I'm doing it the wrong way. We're always only that far away from it. And that far away from it is the 1 degree. And how we bridge that 1 degree, think of it on a compass, how we bridge that 1 degree. It's only 1 degree on a compass. It's 60 miles. A degree on a compass is 60 miles. How we jump that gap is the trick. It's all very well and fine to say, feel better. Okay, but how did you want me to do that? Says the person who's lying face down on the cool linoleum floor. And if we can't give simple steps, it's pointless to say it. We have to show people that there are steps, that it is doable, and that they are simple steps and they are repeatable steps. And because, by the way, that's the definition of success, right? Repeated action, consistent over time. And as long as we do that, as long as we stay in it, as long as I don't stop doing my exercises in the winter, we don't, everybody 2 floors up and down and all along my hallway, don't hear me sobbing and moaning and groaning for my effortless 10-minute workout. It's not the sobbing and moaning and groaning so much, it's the begging. It's the begging. Because it's me, I'm begging. Please stop. I'm talking to my muscles. Please stop. I'm afraid now that I'm in an apartment building, somebody's going to try and stage an intervention and just see me trying to do sit-ups. We thought you were in trouble. I am. Yeah. I'm my own worst enemy. Somebody kick me next winter when I stop doing my exercises. So what we're talking about today on a serious note is always overlaid with joy and with laughter, because it's the way I communicate. When we get a chance to realize, coming back to what is going on right now, when we get a chance to realize that the King of England, a man who has ascended to a throne that has had incredible moments in history, has recently battled cancer, and he's not a young man. And the treatments that people get for cancer are exhausting. Some of them are painful. And that this all too human man, ruler, has had the stamina and the determination and the commitment to his legacy to, at his age, because while age is not a factor in a lot of things, organs are used over time, and recuperative powers must be kept fresh. He and his queen just completed a transatlantic flight. And if you've ever flown from Canada to Europe, that's exhausting. And so they came on 2 days ago, and they're leaving tomorrow. And they are flying back, and they will have a set of duties and tasks and expectations of them pretty much when their feet touch ground. And this is the job he signed on for. This is the job they agreed to, knowing full well he was raised in it. He stood by his mother and his father. He is raising his children to understand that this legacy is bigger than everything, almost, because it is what they were born to do and committed to do, rather than step away. And if for no other reason than that this human being has chosen to say, this event in this place today is worthy of my respect, and I will do what I need to do to be able to show up for that. And yesterday, seeing all the fabulous pictures of them out and about, because they had scheduled things, and they were seeing Ottawa in all of its summer beauty, spring beauty. There were pictures taken of him laughing and grinning, having that mischievous grin on his face, talking to people. That's spontaneous. That's him. That's who he has always been. When you move aside the solemnity of his role and the official duties that are expected of him, he's got a mischievous twinkle. You know, his father did, his mother did. And here it is, alive and well, no matter what else is going on in his life. And this is part of the conversation that we have with ourselves, that I'm having with you twice a week, have been for these many weeks. This is episode 361 today, is that we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to all the people who love us and count on us to bring our best self, to to say to ourselves, I'm in it to win it. I'm in it to just live every ounce of this in this moment. I can do all the second guessing later. Right now, here I am, bright and full of color, just for us, just for thee and me, because we matter, we deserve, and we have an extraordinary connection, right? If how we get there is to poke fun at ourselves, to pull up that grin, then you know what? That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect because it's painless and it's instantaneous and it's delicious. And when we can together experience these videos and you comment because something spontaneously comes into your head and you have an opportunity to write something down and I get to see it and comment back, we are connected. We are in the zone together. We are a team. And, you know, I'm talking to Liam McGuire, who is Canada's resident expert on all things hockey. He has this incredible memory for every fact about our elite players. After all, hockey is Canada's game. And he was saying to me the other day, and it's a subject that we're going to be talking about doing some videos ourselves together as a team, is this whole idea of excellence isn't something that we're just innately born with. We do have a certain amount of skill, but we have to train to maintain. My photographer, right, was saying, if you don't train to maintain, me doing my exercises, I should have trained to maintain, comma, Abby. This is why it hurts. This is what it gets you. If we don't train to maintain, we make it hard on ourselves. If we don't step up every day, just a little, to keep ourselves going, to get ourselves back in the pattern that is still wired in here, but we need to polish up the wiring. We need to make sure the connections are solid, because this is how we do all of these autopilot functions. There's a pattern. We remind the maintenance engineer in charge of those pattern behaviors. We're doing this again. Engineer, right. Got you covered. Let's do this. And it allows us to effortlessly take on our goals rather than saying, oh my God, I got to do this. No. It's awesome that we can. It's exciting that the opportunity is here. And I really firmly believe that what's embedded deeply in this whole idea of flow, of being in the zone, of understanding that it just takes, a 1 degree turn of our attention to see our possibility. That's the forest. We are the tree. If we're facing this way, we got no idea how big is our army. Once we figure out how to do that, we say, oh, look, there you are. Alrighty then. Let's do this. So the people, places, and things that make us grin. And then the joy we have in telling the story. I'm going to tell a story. Brian, if you're watching, this is all us back in college. So we were doing a stage play back in college. And it was based on a book that is really quite wonderful. If you can ever track it down and find it and buy it and read it, you're going to love it. It's called The Decline and Fall of Practically Everybody. And it's written by a man named Will Cuppy, Cuppy. Excellent book. So our theater prof in college decided to turn it into a stage play. And it was great because it was like an ensemble piece. It was like a buffet. All these different actors in the theater class, we all got to participate. And in one of the quick sketches that Brian had, he was playing the King of England, who thought he had learned French because, of course, he was going to be visited by the King of France, and so he hadn't really learned French, but he thought he had. And so what we had Brian do was walk across the stage from left to right, one entrance, one exit, and look at the audience on the way by and say, "Donnez-moi un toasted ham sandwich," in a slight British accent. And every night that he did it in rehearsal, he said, You know what's going to happen sooner or later? One of the janitor crew is going to walk by that other door, because it was an exit. It was an emergency exit door that we were using. They're going to walk by that door, realize it's unlocked, and lock it. And I'm gonna straight arm that door and break off my arm at the elbow. I know it's going to happen. And he kept saying to the director, "We got to make sure there's somebody on the other side of that door." And I think the instruction got forgotten. Whatever. There was a lot going on. So sure enough, one night he strides firmly, proudly across the stage, looks out at the audience and says, "Donnez-moi, toast to ham sandwich," hits the door full on, and it is locked. So you can hear the shutter thud, right? And everybody in the audience went, "Oh," because they could feel, without breaking stride. Brian turned on his heel, headed back in the other direction and said, "Never mind, make it a pizza," and exited triumphant. Speaking of kings in all their glory. And the thing is, the audience didn't know it was an ad lib. I'll tell you who knew it was an ad lib was everybody on stage, because he didn't warn anybody what his fallback was going to be. And so there we all were, facing the audience, doing our very best not to fall over, because it's great. So that happened a while back. I mean, I haven't been in college in a while. Brian hasn't been in college in a while. So that's one of those little stories that you pull out of the mists of time and dust off at a gathering of people doing theater stories to each other. And either Brian or I will mention it. And when we tell it, we're telling it for the assembled masses, but we're looking at each other. We're looking at each other. And the grins we have on our faces are perfect salt and pepper shaker matches. We are exactly mirroring each other in our joy and in our fun and in our memory of how great it is to have had that moment together, and how even greater it is to have it again, because this is the glue. This is what cements us as friends, as colleagues, as brand new people who've never met, and the opportunity comes up in the first moment, and we say something and the other person blinks, and that grin comes and we grin back. And that's a kind of friendship that is deeper and more permanent than any other casual, "Oh, hi," because it has touched both of us simultaneously, where we live, where our energy lives, where the joy is, where the flow flows. And you know what? It's free. It's free and it's instantaneous. And I'm willing to bet that all of you, every single one of you, as I'm telling this, you have a story. You have a memory. You have a friend, you have a location, you have. There was a time when I got hired to write a video for a truck driver training school. And well, take one look at me and you say to yourself, there's a natural fit right there. Of course she drives trucks. And of course I didn't. And I had no idea. And so, but I said to the training school, in order to write a video and shoot it, I need to know what they go through. So I need to take the course. And they looked at me and they said, "It's a $10,000 course." And I said, "I know it's a $10,000 course. You have a classroom full of people. I need to be in that classroom experiencing what they're going through so we can depict it in the video." They were trying to figure out how I was getting away with getting something of $10,000 value plus the fee. And they couldn't really. I said, "A writer can only write what they know. So you need to let me know how this works." And they agreed that it was it's logical, right? I mean, it's impeccable logic. Vikings, of course, invented impeccable logic. So I took the course. Now we get to picture me behind the wheel of a truck. So, and on the side of the truck, it says Transport Driver Training School. The other way of saying that, those letters, is prepare to meet your maker, stand clear. Because the person behind the wheel has no idea what's going on, whether it's me or the other students, right? So we're driving along, and there were these pedestrians. We were at a light, coming up to a light, and it was still green. It's this huge truck, and there's pedestrians not paying attention, right? Walking, stepping off the curb to the truck coming. I'm slowed down, but still, it doesn't take a lot. And so I opened the window and I stuck my head up. I yelled, "Do you have a death wish or something?" The person jumps and looks. Meanwhile, the instructor behind me is like this. And all the other students, because a truck, usually has a bunk if it's a long haul truck. So they'd taken the bunk out. It was a bench seat for the other students. So we would be in rotation, and everybody would sit in the peanut gallery, and they were all cheering. They were all like, "Ah!" Instructor like this. Afterwards, when we get back to the school, he's telling the owner of the school. And then you know what she did at the corner? He tells the story. Every one of the students with me, huge grin. Me, huge grin. I said, "What? What?" Person, not looking. You got to do something. And the guy who owned the school said, "Did you think of the air horn?" And I said, "The what?" And the instructor said, "You see what I have to work with." So that story, anytime I bump into any of the guys that I used to know in the trucking world, and who heard the story or were actually present, and they say, "You know that time?" And I say, "Well, yeah, but I wasn't actually setting it up. It was literally me trying to cope and remind people the vastness of the things I don't know." And this is what we individually get to tap into. This is the hook I'm showing you. This is the hook that we coax the little worm onto to hang onto and lower down into the water. And when the fish come along, the little worm goes, and then pulls himself up the hook, up the string. That is how people go fishing, isn't it? That's how I would go fishing. In any event, we have this ability to simply tell about an event in which we got caught flat-footed. We don't have to be a great storyteller. We don't have to have a punchline. All we have to do to make the story unforgettable is remember it verbatim. How do you remember a thing verbatim? You picture the moment and then you go there. You relive the moment as you tell it. You become part of the memory when you bring the memory forward. And the people with you, once you are part of the memory, the people you're talking to become part of the memory too. And when you grin at them and they grin back at you, and somebody who merely witnessed it is overhearing the story, and you look over and they're going like this with a grin, and then they join the group and say, I was actually on that street corner that day. She's not making anything up. That actually happened. I saw people almost driving off the curb into the crowds in astonishment. What does that give us? What that gives us is a sense of community, a sense of connection, a sense of understanding that our flaws are part of our magic. We're not perfect. I had a late night text conversation with my partner, who's helping me define all this stuff. And at one point, this phrase came up. I keep getting it wrong. People say I keep getting it wrong. And I said, and who are these people who can judge you from such a high vantage point? Perhaps we should all gather around them to help them down off their pedestal so they don't hurt themselves don't crack themselves on the chin. We are innately flawed, all of us. That is part of our magic. We come into every situation in the full knowledge that we got a really good chance of causing the utmost damned astonishment. We also have an incredible chance of creating magic. And sometimes the two are the same. My amazing friend Carol has a young relative who is climbing walls for sport. And to watch video of him, it looks like a special effect. It looks like he's defying gravity. I know there isn't a rope around him. There is no safety net. He's not tethered with an invisible thin line to anything. He's going vertical as fast as he possibly can, a lot faster than looks even remotely reasonable. And when you watch that and you think to yourself, this is unbelievable. It isn't unbelievable. He practices. He practices all the time. We went to an event, I think it was last year now, and I said, how do you practice? He said, well, any chance I get. We're walking along a path and then up a flight of steps to go to an event. And when we got to the steps, there was a railing, you know? And so he's talking to me. He's looking at me and he's talking to me. As he's talking to me, he jumped from the ground onto the actual handrail, kept talking to me as he walked, balanced himself on the handrail. I'm walking up the steps. He's standing, walking on the handrail, talking to me, down to me, of course, because handrail. And I said, for God's sake, don't do that. And he laughed and he said, yeah, I know, it really upsets my mom too. And I said, it doesn't sound like it upsets me. It's a challenge. And I know I can't compete. And he was laughing and he jumped down and he gave me a little bit, thing. And I thought, this is the magic. This is the magic. This is the humble. This is the proud. This is the excited. This is the driven, the hungry. The I wonder what's over there. That's our magic. That's our magic. And when we see somebody doing it and reach the other side and go, yeah, we grin. We grin. All of us. Because we, in sympathy, are in flow with them. So this whole business I'm talking about, we are 1 degree from flow. What is flow? Flow is that easy state we get into when we're not second guessing ourselves, when we're just working it. We're just bringing it and loving it. And it's so fluid and it's so easy and it's so natural. There isn't time for the thinking part. When you can get an idea, when you watch somebody playing the piano, and if they're reading the sheet music, they're reading the sheet music and they're playing, they don't have to look at the keys. It's flow. Comes in through the eyes, comes out through the fingers. There's no this part. It's just flow. And that happens with so many things. You watch somebody doing something, watching something happen, talking about it in the meantime. That's not multitasking. That is one function performed with one step no longer needed. There's a thing that you learn as a truck driver. I almost got it. Sometimes I got it. When you drive a big transport truck, they're not automatic transmission. You have a gear shift and you have to take the truck through the different gears because of the weight that the vehicle is pulling. And so each gear gives you more power and more maneuverability and more speed. And when you shift from gear to gear, you can't just automatically do it because the gears aren't the same size. And if you've ever tried to do that, it makes a grinding noise that is painful to hear and embarrassing. It means you forgot something important. So what happens is in all things that we do, you're in this gear, you're in park, right? or you're in first gear and you're chugging along and you want to go faster, you shift out of first gear. You have to shift through neutral to go to second gear. You have to give neutral, gives the wheels a chance to separate just briefly and then put you in the next gear. So in a truck, there is a way. You have to have the engine revolutions exactly right. When you've got them exactly right, the gears are in sync. They're moving at the same pace at the same time. You can actually shift from one gear to the other without that grinding noise, without needing neutral. And when you get that expertise, that ability to hear it and feel it in your hand, then what you are doing is you are removing a step. You're in flow. You're on pace with the truck itself. Everything is in synchronized movement. This is flow. It doesn't take years and years and years of practice. It just takes practice. And that's why in our conversations, me with Liam talking about hockey and professional athletes, me talking to our photographer, Gary, me talking to our other Gary about excellence and military training and all the things that are required of people to bring their game. Each and every one of us understands what it means when we say you got to train to maintain. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes polish. Practice brings flow. There's no special gimmicks. There's no hidden tools. Buy this book, take this course. There's none of that. It's simple. We train to maintain. What are we maintaining? We're maintaining our ability to remove that 1 degree so that we are perpetually in flow. And the ability to grin, the ability to trigger that kind of mischief and connection in other people, just for ourselves alone, just by ourselves, is how we get there. I didn't bring it out today. I'll show you another time. But I saw a jacket online a few months ago, and I said to myself, well, okay, so that's highly affordable. And if it's even remotely what this picture looks like, it's genius. It's one of those ultimate props that you use that cause everyone to forget exactly what they were saying right now because they're in flow with me. It's a green jacket, and it looks like what you would get if you took slime and 50 feather boas and you sewed them together and added sleeves. When I opened the package, it was inside out, and all I saw was the silk lining, right? But then I turned it around and I burst out laughing. And as I, unfolded it and popped out the sleeves and everything, I was laughing nonstop because it also has these threads, these silver sequiny threads, like a waterfall. And the reason I was laughing, it's 2 reasons. One is that it's perfect. It's perfect in every way for its purpose. That's the first reason. But the other reason I'm laughing is that I can already anticipate the looks on people's faces when they see it. This is a grin-worthy tool. This is a grin-worthy prop. I'm going to use it. And so I took a picture and I sent it to Carol, and her only comment was "Wowza," and I said, "I know, right?" And she said, "We need an event," and I said, "I think the jacket is the event, but I get you. We need an event to take it to. A little while went by, and then she posed it again. She said, I'm really still speechless. I'm staring at the picture. I'm in the living room. So this is my advice, my story, my concept today. We are at the 27th of May. It has been a challenging winter and early spring. The weather has been interesting. And there are a lot of things that we are seeing and hearing in the news. There are a lot of moods and attitudes that we are seeing in people. And more than typically, we are seeing and hearing a lot of exhaustion, annoyance, frustration, complaining, kvetching, small yappy dog syndrome. And the biggest thing about those behaviors is that they are isolating. They are separating that person and everybody and labeling everything in rigid terms and drawing lines in the sand that are unnecessary. And these things are happening because people feel frustrated and hostage taken by the situation because they have no instructions on how to override everything that's going on. And as I see all this unfolding around me, and I do my little thing, and I got on the elevator the other day, and a fellow we are a pet-friendly building. Fellow was already on the elevator with a very, very large dog. Very large dog. And I got on the elevator and I said, well, hello, handsome. And the guy, with a very embarrassed look on his face, said, hi. And I said, oh, I was talking to the dog, actually, but hey, no. So on this complete stranger's face, laughter, confusion, embarrassment, relief, and pure joy that I'm a dog person, all at once, like all over his face. And when he got off the elevator a couple of floors later, I said, see you later, handsome. And he looked down at his dog and said, she's talking to you. I made a friend. Actually, I think I made two. To me, that's everything. To me, that's how we override all the separating stuff that we're doing, all the limiting stuff we're doing, all of the self-beating ourselves up stuff we're doing. This is the cure. This is the antidote to the venom, right? This gives us the power to say, not today, Jose. Joy, the simple win of making people grin, is how we rediscover flow, how we move past that 1 degree of separation. It's that simple. All it requires is training to maintain, like me and my fitness routine. So I want to leave that with you. I want you to take it with you when you're using your later folder. Maybe at the top of the page, write the word grin. Because when you open the page and you see it says grin, that's an instruction. And maybe that's a reminder of everything that happened today. Or the last time I made you shake your head and say, that woman. Because we need that reminder. We need to know that people see us. People get us. People are glad we're here. Glad we came. Glad they can say, she's with me. What can I say? We need to feel that we are creating that trigger. We are that hook. We are that event. Because it feels amazing and it refuels, it resets, it restores our pure, true genius. And that is our resilience. And we all have that. So I want to leave that with you today, lovelies. Where I am, it's a beautiful day. Where you are, if you can focus on the things that make you grin, it will be a better day in your corner of the world too. So between now and Thursday, you know the drill. Be good to you. Find reasons to grin. You don't need to buy a green coat. You can just wait till I post the picture. And then you can say, does it come in my size? Can you, oh my God, can you imagine that as a uniform? There's a hell of an army. I will see you on Thursday with something equally fun to talk about. And I want to thank you for sticking with me all this time. I want to thank you for watching these videos. I want to thank you for the comments you make. You know, when you reach out to me and you say, I loved when you said this, that really hit home today. It felt like you were talking to me. That's a lottery win. That's a lottery win for me. Because without you guiding and nudging and course correcting me, this is a rehearsal. It's just me and Mom and the Care Bears and some tulips and maybe a pair of shoes or two. It's not the same without you. And I mean that. So, same time, same place, 2 days away, Wednesday, Thursday, right? I'll catch you here. And in the meantime, be you. You're the best version of you.